Maryam Flemming, but I go by Maryam right now as my Muslim name. I come from a place called Stephenville, Newfoundland and Labrador. It's about 8,000 people. It's a nice little town. My family, I have 3 brothers and 1 sister. I'm the only one in my family who is converted to Islam. My upbringing as a Christian, we went to church special times, Christmas, Easter. However, my father would insist on every Sunday us going to church. As much as we sometimes fought going, we would still go. I did some volunteering. They would have these programs at the church, the Christmas shoebox. They would ask people to buy things for the children, and it had to be things that weren't too violent or like nothing like guns or knives or like this. So it was more like crayons, coloring books, you know, stuff of that nature, candy, and we would put these boxes together. And I was so happy to be able to put one of these together and to be able to present it to a child. But little did I know that they were shipping them up and sending them over to another country. They also have these, with the Salvation Army, they would have these Christmas trees that you would go and you would pick a name. Well, actually it wasn't a name, it was a boy or a girl off a tree, and it would have the age on it, and you go and you buy them a gift, and then after you bought it, you present it back to the tree. And so we would do these little kinds of things, and it was nice. It made, you know, you just to give someone that, just to be able to provide that sense of happiness for someone who couldn't really afford to buy that child a gift on Christmas morning. It was a nice feeling. How would we celebrate Easter? Well, we would basically, my parents at that time would take Easter eggs and chocolates and stuff, and they would put them all on present them in a nice little arrangement on a couch, and we would always be like told that, oh yeah, the Easter bunny's coming in the morning, you know, like, so it got us excited, especially even, I remember one time we had just come back from living in Ontario, and we were living back in Stephenville, Newfoundland, and I remember we were living with my aunt, and it was Easter time, and my aunt had all these nice Easter eggs and all these toys and everything from my cousin, because he was a little bit younger than me. And I remember, like, I looked at what he had and what I had, and I'm like, no. And I took from his Easter things and I put it to mine, and then I went back to bed. And then in the morning, when I got up, I'm like, wait a second, how did that get back there? I wouldn't put that there. And my aunt said, oh, so you did that. So it was, and then I guess, well, at that point I didn't believe in the Easter Bunny after that, but that's the kind of things that were associated with holidays such as Easter. Yes, I always have believed in God. However, growing up in such a place as Newfoundland, that was kind of instilled in us that the belief of God was there. In terms of, did I believe in the essence of Jesus being the Son of God? No, I never believed in that. And I remember in high school, I would always get in trouble and fights with my religion teacher about this matter. My relationship with the Bible, growing up, I remember I enjoyed the stories of that was being told to us about Nabi Noah, well, or Prophet Noah, the story of Jesus. You know how Mary would come with Joseph on a donkey, and they would go to a manger, and she would give birth to Jesus. But I remember also coming across a letter, a report card my mother had when I was in grade 2 or 3, and it said on to it that Dawn Marie was always very joyful, very intent of listening to the religious program, the stories. So it was, I did like those kinds of things. If the daily prayers were important to me, I would say that they were more important now, but at that time, the prayers, I would always say my prayers before I go to sleep. When there was if I needed something, I would always say the St. Jude novena, or it was the prayer of St. Anne. We would say these prayers. Those prayers were kind of indoctrinated into us, kind of thing, from my dad. What did I think of Islam before converting? I really didn't know too much about Islam. I didn't even realize that we even had Muslims living in Newfoundland until after I converted to Islam. I didn't meet any Muslims right away that sparked my interest in Islam. A funny thing that happened was that I was a nanny in Montreal. That's what brought me to Montreal. I had a friend from Nova Scotia who was also a nanny. We were sitting in the metro, and I remember just looking at her, and I'm like, yo, Jay, I'm like, there's a lot of Muslims here, not Muslims, sorry, there's a lot of nuns here in Montreal. And she's like, Dawn, they're not nuns, they're Muslims. And I'm like, what's a Muslim? She's like, oh, you know, they're the ones, she said, that's always covered up. She said, when it rains, she said, they're all running out of the weather, you know? And I started to laugh, and I'm like, okay, like, so that kind of like, I didn't know. I said, like they're dressed like nuns. And it's so funny because I even got referred to as the flying nun at home, because I'm the only one with, I guess, that wears a baya. But yeah, that was it. That kind of sparked it right there. From that, I was very curious about why they looked so much like nuns. But it wasn't really after that I had my daughter that I really wanted to know more about Islam. Because before, I didn't want to know anything about Islam. It was kind of the thing that my husband at that time was trying to get me to talk to these people about Islam, and I'm like, you know, okay, you have your religion, I have mine, you know, lakum dinukum waliya din kind of thing. And it was just, sorry, it was just really funny how even that whole incident came about. He had me talking to these Muslims from Syria, and after, I'm like, oh, you know, no, I'm not going to be Muslim. When I did decide, it was because of my daughter. I was sitting down, and I was thinking, like, I have this baby now, and I have to be a role model for her. I have to do something, at least I have to do something good to show her that I can be a good person. So I went searching then, and I remember speaking to a nun, and I said to her, you know, like, I'm confused, I really don't know what to do. And she's like, well, what's to be confused about? I said, you know, like, I don't know if I should raise my daughter as Christian or as Muslim. And so she said, so she's like, so do you go to church? I'm like, well, I go when I have to. And she's like, well, what about your husband? I said, yeah, he prays and he goes to mosque, and, you know, he attends functions as a Muslim. And she's like, well, he's better than you. So she said, maybe you need to consider raising your daughter as a Muslim. And I'm like, I said, I found this strange coming from a nun. So I thought, okay, you know, so a couple of days later, I had an appointment with the doctor, and it just happened that he's a Muslim doctor. And when I said to him, I said, Assalamu alaikum, he's like, alaikum salam. He said to me, I said, yo, Dr. Ghani, I said, you're Muslim, right? And he's like, yeah. He's like, aren't you Muslim? I'm like, no. He said, yeah, I'm Muslim. I said, well, I'm just curious, because, you know, I went to the library and I went looking for some books on Islam. He said, you're not going to find no books on Islam in Newfoundland. He's like, come. He said to my office, I have lots of books. He said, if you want to look. So he gave me a Quran, and I grabbed some other little books. But the Quran was the one that I took hold of. And when I opened it up to Surat Maryam. And I started to read the story about Isa, Nabi Isa, and the story of Jesus, and I remember feeling how like this is totally different, the way that as a Christian we believed how Nabi Isa is, and I'm thinking like this is more respectful of Maryam, the mother of Isa, the mother of Jesus. And as I kept reading it, I said, you know what? I'm going to take the name of Maryam as my name, because my middle name is Murray, which is, it's like Maryam. So I thought, okay, well, this is a good name. First, I thought, okay, Fajr. No, I'm like Fajr is like the part, which is still good, but I said no. I said Maryam is she's one of the 4 women of paradise. So I thought that this would be a good name. So how I would compare Lady Maryam in the Holy Bible to Islam, I didn't find it that the story of Maryam in the Bible was, it was just totally different how they depict Maryam in the Bible. When they say that she rode in on a donkey with Joseph, and they went and laid in a manger full of animals, and she gave birth in a manger. Okay, how they depicted Maryam riding in on a donkey with Joseph, and her giving birth into a stable surrounded by animals. I just didn't find that to be of what a prophet would be born into. But how they did it in Islam, saying how Maryam was, she was told to go and sit, and she was leaning up against a tree and told to, like, she wanted to eat, and how she was told after, so she ate the dates, and how she was told after to be able to, don't ask me, speak to him. I just find that so different compared to how I was taught. I didn't know that that Jesus spoke from the cradle. I thought that Jesus spoke, well, like any other normal child, and they depict him as being a normal child in the Bible, which he's not. He's considered to be revered as something more high in Islam, and I didn't think about that. And even the mother of Jesus, Maryam, how she's considered to be one of the 4 women of paradise. That in itself is like, it's such it's an honor to be able to be held in that position. It's a real honor. And even if you compare her now, you know, how they say, oh, like, why Muslim women dress like this or they dress like that. Well, look at Maryam. Excuse me. Look at Maryam, the way that she is dressed. How can you say that women are being disrespected and oppressed in Islam when you yourself look at Maryam and she's dressed in full garb? What did my family think of my reversion? They were not very receptive of it in the beginning. And still till now, they still have some difficulties accepting me being Muslim. I think it's more because of who I used to be. I still think I'm the fun, caregiving person, and I'll help at any cost, at anything. And I'm always there. I would like to think as myself as being generous. I'm not as generous as Ahlulbayt, but alhamdulillah, I'm becoming more generous, more patient, alhamdulillah. My family did see a difference in me when I converted to Islam. My sister always notes to me, she said, no, you were like flying by the seat of your pants before, but now I see a difference in you. You are more calm, and you look like you're headed to a better place, and you are in a better place than what you were before you became Muslim. And I thought that was nice, you know, like that she noted, she's seen that in me. And even my own family, like they always make this this reference to oh, foreigners, look at those foreigners. I'm like, hey, what are you talking about? Like I'm just like that. Yeah, well, that's not that's not really your religion. I'm like, what do you mean? That's not my this is my religion. This is who I am now. Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy to be who I am, and being a Muslim is something to be honored, I believe. My first year as a Muslim, well, alhamdulillah, it was bittersweet, I should say. I was very happy to be able to be introduced to Islam. The first time that I actually went to a mosque was during the month of Muharram. And the friend of mine, she loaned me a hijab. And I was very honored at that time to put it. I was so excited. And when I went to the mosque, I looked around and I'm like, I'm the only one here wearing a white hijab and everybody else is wearing black. But I wasn't really told the story of Imam Hussein at that time. And I remember sitting in the mosque and everybody, all of a sudden, I don't know what the sheikh is saying, but he's talking and everybody is hitting themselves and screaming and crying. And I'm like, oh my God, what did he say? Like, what happened? Did somebody die? Like, I was just, I really wasn't informed well on the story of Muharram and Ashura. But I felt very welcomed into the masjid of Ahlulbayt, alhamdulillah. I believe, yeah, they are now. The message is starting to get out, that the message of Imam Hussein. I believe that we are doing a better job than what we were before. I think the fact that they're putting signs in UK, who is Hussein? The fact that we are having now Ansar Day here in Montreal and in Toronto, the message is getting out. You know, the fact that a group of brothers and sisters went to the hospital here in Saint Justine and the Montreal General, and they were handing out flowers and giving them on behalf of the Ansars of Imam Hussein. And people were so curious as to wonder who is this? Who is this man, this revered man that you keep talking about, Imam Hussein? And people were there explaining it, and they were telling me, I was like feeling so uplifted by, I said, I wish I could have went. And they're like, why you didn't come? I said, because I don't speak French that well to be able to converse with them. But I said, the fact that they felt so honored to get this rose, that they're not just nurses and janitors, you know, they are like the Ansar themselves. They're out there helping in the community, helping those that need that type of help. And to be honored and say thank you for the good work you do, I think that in itself, that's a big dawah from Islam right there, from us. What made me follow the path of Ahlulbayt? I remember reading Hadith Kissa, and I remember how beautiful this hadith is. They talked about how Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, he invited Imam Ali ﷺ, Fatima Zahra ﷺ, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein ﷺ, and Angel Jibreel was also invited to come in underneath a cloak. And I thought there has to be something so special about these 5 people that I need to find out more about who they are, who are these revered people that they keep talking about. Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, Imam Ali, Fatima Zahra, Prophet Muhammad. We know about Prophet Muhammad, alhamdulillah, but alhamdulillah, like it's so nice how these 5 were all put underneath the cloak, and saying that how special they are to the world, and that we, alhamdulillah, that we are so honored to be following under the Shia, alhamdulillah. I did have the blessed opportunity to go to Karbala, and it was an experience that, inshallah, I will never forget. I was invited by the Imam Hussein Foundation with the blessed, fortunate event of being able to go, and I remember stepping foot in Najaf, and I could not believe that I was even there. And the whole time when I was going, I remember I just couldn't believe it. Like, I'm like, there's no way I'm here. It's not a feeling that anybody can really describe. But then when you're there and like you're sitting, you're not even sitting, you're approaching the doors of Imam Hussein's masjid, and you're like, you keep hearing all these stories about people telling you, oh yeah, you have to go, and I'm like, it seems so surreal. It was just such a surreal experience. But it wasn't until I stood in the same place where Lady Zainab, where she stood. And they were saying that this is the place where she stood, and yelled out and said, are there any helpers to help my brother? And there was nobody left. I dropped on my knees and I started to cry. It was such a nice feeling. And I remember how warm the people of Karbala were, and how inviting they were. And they're always asking you, come, have yalla, ta'ay. You know, they were saying, come, chai, chai. And it was such a nice feeling. And I swear, the day that I got on that plane to leave, I was crying the whole way in the cab going back. I'm like, I don't want to leave. I really don't. I feel like, you know how they say you left your heart in San Francisco? I left my heart in Karbala the day I got on that plane to come back to Montreal. It was such a feeling that I could not even explain. I really couldn't explain. If I didn't have family here, I would have left everything and just stayed in Karbala. I don't know how I would have lived, but inshallah, I would have managed, I think. But just the warmth of the people and how open and beautiful the city is, it was just an undescribable feeling, really undescribable. Yes, I have experienced racism since I became Muslim. I converted to Islam in, I would say, 2000. My journey started in 1999. I took a year to learn about Islam. And shortly after, in June of 2001, I put hijab. And of course, we all know what happened back then. 9/11 had happened. It was a very emotional time for a lot of people. It was the first time that I had ever in my life experienced any kind of racism, even being from Newfoundland. It was not something I was accustomed to. I remember being on the bus and going home that day, and I remember how I was hearing the word terrorist being thrown, and I'm thinking, like, terrorist, like, where's the terrorist, you know, like. And I didn't realize they were talking to me, they were talking about me, I'm the terrorist. But I kind of let that one, I kind of tried to let that go. But it wasn't really what affected me until I was getting a movie one night, and there was 2 little kids. And I remember how the little kids were like, hi, terrorist, terrorist. They're like this, and I'm like, they're just little kids. I wanted to like okay, yalla, go away, you know, kind of thing. But you know, they're just kids. They're innocent. And then it wasn't until after, like, the little boy, he came and he's like, Mama, terrorist, terrorist. And the mother came, and I looked at her. I'm like, you know, what are you teaching your kids? Like, this is not what you're supposed to teach your kids to hate. But if you can teach your kids to hate, you can teach your kids to love. That's the way I see it. But at the same time, having this happen to me, on the other side of it, I was in IGA, into the grocery store. And as I was coming out, this man passed by me, and he looked at me, he smiled. I said, hi, how you doing? And I walked out the door, and as I was walking out, he's like, Madame. And I turned around, I said, yes. He said, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. He's like, you know, it's the first time a Muslim woman has ever smiled at me. And I thought, what? I said to him, like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. He said, usually when I see Muslim women, they have this very drawn, sad look on their face. And I'm like, oh, no. I said, like, you don't know me, obviously. He said, but you weren't born Muslim, right? I said, alhamdulillah. I said, I convert to Islam. But I said, you know what? I said, you're not meeting the right ones. I said, because not all women are like this. We're very nice and gentle people, and we like to, smile at people. And sometimes, maybe some people have things going on in their life, but still, the best thing to do is smile. It's a form of charity. Even Islam says this. So at that time, he said to me, you know what? I want to tell you, he said, you know what? Just because you did, he said, you really changed my perspective about this, about women in Islam. He said, I thought they were oppressed, and I thought, like they were very, just being very sad all the time. I said, no. I said, what? We're not aliens, like we're like anybody else. We're happy. We like to smile at people. He's like, wow. He's like, this really changed my outlook on Muslims. The best advice that I can give to anybody considering Islam or even converting to Islam is the fact that, you know what, I myself was closed-minded. I thought in one way, I didn't think that my way was the best way. I thought something different. I thought that that Islam is something, it was something different. There was something about the people, how they, even as families, how they come together as a big family. It's beautiful, it's a nice feeling. But at the same time, I was looking for something in my life, and Islam fulfilled that feeling for me. What I really want to advise people is that don't be closed-minded. If you have that feeling, go and search. Because once you do, you're going to find a whole different world. You're going to find people, beautiful people that you never thought you would ever meet before in your life. People that will welcome you as family, as real family into your home. And when I say home, I mean into the masjid. You're going to get that people that will always, they have that one mindset, the visors on like the horse and you lead them. But you can't, you have to go not to just one masjid, go to other masjid and get to know the people. Go in, say salam alaikum. Even just if you're you're just curious about Islam and you want to go, just go. It will change your whole outlook on Muslims and Islam. The best message that I can give to Muslims is that you know what Islam represents. You know that Islam is the best and the true religion. And you know that by following Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the best example for all of us in the world. You can't let people tell you, oh, this is that. And what I mean by that, it's don't let people tell you that, oh, if you do this, if you do something haram, it's going to bring you halal. It's not going to bring you anything but pain and lies. And all I can say to them is that trust Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is the best example for all of us. And we have to follow that. We have to follow his true path, what he wanted for us. And what he wants is the best for all Muslims. Not to be treated in a bad way, not to treat others in a bad way. They say in Islam there's no compulsion in religion. So how can we as Muslims go out there and commit heinous acts of violence and crimes against Muslims, against non-Muslims? This goes totally against Islam. Our own governments are not acting properly in terms of lots of things, even Muslim governments. But don't let that ruin the whole essence of what Islam is. Islam is pure. Islam has the love and has the beauty and has the Ahlulbayt.